From the moment Caitlin Clark turned professional, the spotlight followed her everywhere she went. She wasn't just a rookie in the WNBA, she was a phenomenon, a generational talent who carried both enormous expectations and an even bigger target on her back. Opponents circled her on the scouting report. Crowds booed her relentlessly. Analysts debated if she could live up to the hype. And through it all, Clark never flinched. She didn't need to clap back with her mouth. She let her game do the talking. Every logo three, every no-look dime, every cold-blooded performance became her response to the doubters. And one by one, those who dared to trash-talk Caitlin Clark were left humbled, embarrassed, and often immortalized in highlight reels for all the wrong reasons. One of the earliest and most iconic examples came during March 2024 in one of the highest-stakes games of her college career. Iowa faced off against undefeated South Carolina, the powerhouse of women's basketball. The atmosphere was electric, with the stands filled with fans determined to shake Clark's confidence. As soon as she touched the ball, chants of "overrated" echoed through the arena. For most players, that kind of venom from the crowd would have been paralyzing. But Clark didn't scowl, didn't lose her composure. She laughed. That laugh said everything. She knew exactly what was coming. Possession after possession, she carved up the South Carolina defense, burying deep threes and whipping pinpoint assists that left defenders spinning. By the final buzzer, she had dropped 42 points and flipped the crowd on its head. Those who mocked her were now silent, some even hiding their faces as the cameras zoomed in on their stunned reactions. That night proved that trying to rattle Caitlin Clark almost always backfires. But her history with trash talkers stretches back even further. The Elite Eight in March 2023 pitted Iowa against Louisville in what quickly turned into a battle of words as much as basketball. Louisville's Hailey Van Lith, one of the fiercest competitors in college basketball, brought her signature fire into the game. After hitting shots, she chirped at Clark, hoping to get under her skin. But Clark had a response that didn't require words. At one point, after a clutch basket, she turned toward Van Lith and delivered a casual hand wave in front of her face. John Cena's legendary "You can't see me" taunt. The crowd erupted, social media exploded, and that single gesture became one of the most viral moments in NCAA tournament history. But what made it sting even more for Van Lith was that Clark didn't just taunt. She delivered one of the greatest individual performances the game had ever seen. 41 points, a triple-double, and Iowa's ticket to the Final Four. Van Lith's fire had been extinguished, and Caitlin Clark left the floor not just as the victor, but as the star of a moment etched permanently into basketball culture. That ability to turn trash talk into fuel carried over seamlessly into the WNBA. Caitlin entered the league with unprecedented hype, her games already being broadcast nationally and drawing record crowds. But that hype didn't sit well with everyone, and it didn't take long before she became the target of veterans and rivals who wanted to test her toughness. On June 1, 2024, her Indiana Fever took on the Chicago Sky in a game that became infamous. Midway through the action, Chindy Carter blindsided Clark with a hard, unnecessary foul, bumping into her space and sending her to the floor. On the sidelines, Angel Reese leapt up in support of her teammate, hyping up the physical play and later joining in herself to make life difficult for Clark. The message was clear: welcome to the WNBA. But Clark's answer was the same as it had always been. She shook it off, locked in, and went to work. With a combination of deep shooting, aggressive drives, and sharp passing, she led Indiana to a statement victory. After the game, when Carter was asked about the incident, she flat out refused to answer any questions about Clark, clearly frustrated by how the night turned out. Once again, Caitlin had turned an opponent's attempt to rattle her into a showcase of her resilience. That wouldn't be the last time it happened. Just 9 days later, the Fever faced the Connecticut Sun, and Dejounte Carrington decided to take her shot at shaking Clark. Carrington bodied her up on defense, delivered some extra contact, and even mocked her after one particular play. But for Caitlin, disrespect is gasoline. In their very next meeting, she made sure Carrington paid the price. She drove right past her with ease, buried a dagger three over her, and at one point left Carrington completely exposed by dribbling through her defense, leaving her stumbling as Clark finished the play. Indiana walked away with the win. Carrington was left helpless, and the footage replayed over and over as proof of what happens when you try to poke Caitlin Clark. Even the legends of the game haven't been able to escape her wrath. Diana Taurasi, widely considered one of the greatest to ever play, spoke before Caitlin's rookie season began and issued a stern warning. "Reality is coming," Taurasi said, suggesting Clark's college heroics wouldn't translate to the professional level. Fans circled the date when Phoenix and Indiana were set to meet, and when the game arrived, it lived up to the hype. Taurasi, never one to hold back her words, had plenty to say during the game. But Clark let her play do the talking. She lit up the Mercury with logo threes, slicing passes, and clutch plays that silenced any talk of her being unprepared for the league. Indiana took home the win, and Clark, when asked afterward about Taurasi's comments, simply smiled and said, "I'm just happy we won." It was the perfect answer. Short, subtle, and backed by undeniable performance.